Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everybody. This is actually a continuation from the previous lecture or the previous video that I attached in the spectrum, but still within the topic of fatigue, biochemistry of fatigue. And I believe you have watched the video that I've attached in the spectrum, where the discussion or the explanation focus more on metabolic aspects of fatiguing, for example, depletion in glycogen, phosphocreatine, lacking of phosphocreatine, oxidative aspect in reducing force generation. Those are peripheral aspect of neuromuscular. But there is also other component of fatiguing, which is the neuromuscular fatigue, which I'm going to explain to you today. So yeah. So let's go into the neuromuscular fatigue. So this is another aspect of fatigue that usually forgotten by most research or sports scientists. And I decided to, open up mind for my student that this is also need to be studied on because up to date, neuromuscular or neurology or neuroscience is the area that not much expert on this area yet. It's been come up with to understand better about the mechanism, how neuro part can enhance or can be a strategy to enhance performance. So yeah. So let's go into the introduction. The definition of fatigue, first and foremost. So fatigue is decline in muscle tension or force capacity with repeated stimulation or during given time period. So that's the definition, basic definition of fatigue that I'm sure that every one of you know that already. So this definition also encompasses perceptual alteration of increased difficulty to enhance a desired submaximal or maximal exercise outcome. It can be submaximal, and it can be maximal exercise outcome. It can be based on these both type of exercise or mode of exercise. And fatigue can be generalized into two, which is the central fatigue due to the neuromuscular fatiguing of your central nervous system, and also peripheral fatigue, which is locomotor, focus more on locomotor processes. So for central fatigue, of course, the name of it will involve only neuromuscular system, particularly in your central nervous system, while peripheral fatigue, the fatigue can cause because of within the neuromuscular junction of your motor units, and also it can because of the metabolic changes or depression in certain metabolites within your muscles. So you have learned this I would say in detail in both anatomy and physiology, and also exercise physiology course that you did previous semesters. So I'm not going to focus into that, but I would like you guys to refresh back what you've learned, particularly the changes in the metabolites within the peripheral muscles, okay, with the peripheral part of our body. But for this course for biochemistry, I would rather explain to you. I think it's worth for me to explain to you the neuro part. But both of them are important for this course, which I could ask you in one of my questions, whether test or final exam. So cause of fatigue during exercise. will be event specific. It depends. Okay, it depends on which event or mode of exercise. Okay, and I'm going to explain this as well. And perhaps you have watched this as well. Okay, maybe I can just give a brief recall what have we have watched, and just to give you some thoughts and some rough idea before we proceed. So basically, when you're exercising prolonged and someone who perform prolonged and exhaustive type of exercise, usually that fatigue will come from the neuromuscular aspect. Okay, the one that involved is because of the reduce in your central drive. Okay, but if the fatiguing or the type of exercise is brief, usually the fatigue will more on localized, localized within the muscle itself, more on metabolized aspect rather than neuromuscular drive, reduction in neuromuscular excitability or central drive, not because of that. Okay. So yeah, the cause of fatigue during 100-meter example is example I put in here. The cause of fatigue during 100-meter running is different than cause of fatigue during the marathon running or prolonged type of exercise, exhaustive exercise. So yeah, so 100-meter is more on metabolites or localized muscles, whilst marathon running will involve both central or neuromuscular fatigue and also peripheral fatigue or locomotor muscle fatigue. So voluntary muscle actions exhibit 4 components following nervous system hierarchy. So this is the hierarchy of muscle excitability. It starts from your sensory muscles. Your sensory organs. We'll go to efferents. Okay, efferents towards your brain. And then we'll analyze within brain. And usually when there is feedback required, the motor cortex part of the body, okay, will ask, okay, or will give a command to provide the central drive from the motor cortex to efferent pathways of your nervous system, and it will travel along the midbrain, pons medulla, before it reaches to the motor unit and contract that particular muscle via the efferent motor pathways. Okay, efferent and efferent. So the hierarchy can be divided into 4, which are the central nervous system part, which consists of course brain and spinal cord, and then peripheral nervous system, okay, both motor and sensory neurons, okay, and the last the third one is neuromuscular junction, okay, the link between the nerve and also the muscles, okay, all the acetylcholines, all the neurotransmitter, ions, calcium ions, sodium and potassium, all those sort of things that transfer the synapse from the nerve to the muscles happen in the third phase, the third part of the hierarchy. And then the last one is muscle fiber. Muscle fiber is, I would say, more focused on the metabolites aspect, or caloric or biochemistry aspect of the muscle contraction. Okay, so that is a 4 hierarchy. And again, I would like to say to you that during a short to medium duration of exercise, only fatigue exercise with this mode of exercise only involve muscle fiber alteration within the muscle fiber, whilst for prolonged will will affect the first two rather than the second two. Okay, second two, neuromuscular junction and muscle fiber, usually within the mode of exercise of short bursts to moderate distance or moderate durations, while the first and the first two, particularly the first one, it will alter when a person's or an athletes perform prolonged type of exercise, exhaustive exercise. Yeah. So yeah, this is the diagram that you can better understand about how central fatigue will take in charge. Okay, will take in charge when you perform exercise. Okay, so peripheral factor, central factor, hypoglycemia. When you perform prolonged exercise, okay, when you exhaust the source of glycogen within your body, okay, it's depleted. Of course, it will affect the brain glycogen as well. It will lead to central fatigue. If you follow my cursor here, so glycogen depletion, when you do prolonged exercise, muscle glycogen will deplete and then leads to hypoglycemia, and the brain glycogen will decrease and it will affect the central fatigue. Okay, with the change, it will change certain ways of the brain or if the central nervous system operates, that could lead to central fatigue. Okay, increase in tryptophan. Okay, this I'm going to explain to you. Tryptophan is other factor that could lead to central fatigue via the hormones of serotonin. I'm going to explain to you in a bit. And in fact, that's the main, main gist or main issue that I want to explain to you guys for this presentation. So the tryptophan, BCCA, ratio in the blood will alter the neurotransmitter. Okay, this is monoamines neurotransmitter is type of transmitter that could affect the serotonin and synthesize serotonin. Okay, the serotonin hypothesis I'm going to explain to you later. And secretion or overspill of serotonin will lead to central fatigue, directly alter the central nervous system, how they operate. Okay, inhibits the excitability of the central nervous system, particularly within the motor cortex. And the last one, increase in body temperature with dehydration. When you prolong exercise, you are tend to dehydrate yourself and increase the temperature. This could, also promotes the synthesis of serotonin, and serotonin will have effects on the excitability, overspill or over synthesize. Overproduction of serotonin hormones will reduce the central motor neuron drive. Okay, it could lead to central fatigue as well. It can be from here, or directly the increased temperature, body temperature, also reduce the efficiency of your central nervous system in operating things. So these are the main mechanism of central fatigue. So exercise induce alteration in level of central nervous system neurotransmitter, i.e. via serotonin. Okay, this one I have explained to you. And serotonin is the name of serotonin. We call it 5-hydroxytryptamine. Okay, that could also become the serotogenic synthesis of serotonin. Okay, like precursor. 5-HT is a precursor to produce serotonin, and also dopamine, and acetylcholine in various brain regions. Okay, and then apart from that, immune cell secretes neuromodulator ammonia and cytokines that will alter physics and perceptual states to perform exercise. This is more to psychobiological changes happens in your central nervous system rather than biochemistry changes. The immune cells, perceptual, still perform exercise. But both of this, ammonia and cytokines, will also have effects in serotonin production as well. They intercorrelate one to another at some points. Okay, meaning that central fatigues can be a combination of both serotonin synthesis, overspill or overproduction of serotonin, serotonin itself, and then because of the immune cell, okay, like defensive mechanism of your central nervous system in inhibiting certain pathways or certain, process in the brain to I would say, to ask your body to stop exercising, or else you tend to have injuries. Okay, so that's how immune systems work. Okay, and both of them will work together and end up becoming factors of the fatiguing within the central nervous system. So these are the synthesis of serotonin. Serotonin is synthesized from the amino acid L-tryptophan. Okay, start with L-tryptophan by a short metabolic pathways consisting of two enzymes, which are tryptophan hydrolase and aromatic amino acids decarboxylase (DCC). If you can see, if you can look into the diagram here, we'll start from tryptophan, L-tryptophan, and then follow a certain processes to become serotonin itself. Okay. So this synthesis of serotonin is produced by Raphi nuclei in the of the central nervous system cells. Okay, the neuron cells within the central nervous system. Okay, and serotonin can become both excitability and inhibitory to neuromuscular. So, you have to keep in mind serotonin is not entirely bad. Okay, serotonin is actually a type of neurotransmitter within your brain to increase the neuron excitability. But overspill of serotonin will reduce excitability, and I'm going to explain to you later why overspill of serotonin will reduce your excitability, neuromuscular excitability. Okay, after all, serotonin will benefit you, okay, but not over exposed by serotonin. No, not gonna help you if overexposed. If your nervous system, central nervous system, overexposed or overspill with serotonin. Yeah, and although serotonin is secreted not just within the muscles, within the brain, within the central nervous system, it is also produced in your um, digestive system and other part of your body. But the central, those serotonin that produce peripherally, not in the central nervous system, won't affect your central nervous system. Serotonin that produced by your central nervous system. Central fatigues only, I would say, modulated or affected by serotonin that secretes locally within the central nervous system only. It won't crisscross from the peripheral serotonin in your body. Okay, it won't. Okay, meaning that it won't travel from the peripheral to the central and affect your fatigue. Okay, from peripheral to central. It only affect localized. Okay, fatiguing, central fatigue due to serotonin only happen only because of the serotonin that's secreted by the neurons within the central nervous system only. Okay, but there's other ways of serotonin to be produced, but we'll say it's very much peripheral rather than central. This is just for you guys good to know. Okay, serotonin can also synthesize from the tryptophan in the lab using the Aspergillus niger and psilocybe coprophila as a catalyst. So you can get this from this type of mushroom that grows from dung, okay, from waste. Okay, so your body can produce tryptophan, and then from tryptophan becomes serotonin from this food, from this things that you ingest. Okay, you can separate from there. So serotonin taken orally does not pass into the serotogenic pathways. Serotogenic means the production of serotonin or the synthesis of the factors that can produce serotonin, okay, into serotogenic pathways of your central nervous system, because it does not cross the blood-brain barrier. This is what I mentioned just now. So if you consume things that contain serotonin, it won't travel to your blood-brain barrier. The effect will be just localized. However, tryptophan, if you consume tryptophan and its metabolites, okay, such as 5-HTP, the one I mentioned just now. Okay, the ingredients, I would say, that can produce or can synthesize serotonin. If you consume that in your diet, okay, it will travel to your brain and makes the brain to produce more serotonin. Okay, it can because of the production of serotonin doesn't sorry, let me rephrase this. Okay, the effect of serotonin produced within the brain because of your things that you eat, okay, can only occur within the brain. Okay, the synthesis of serotonin that because of diet can affect your performance, either exciting your neurons or inhibit your neuron excitability. Okay, it can come from can come from your diet. Okay, but most of the time it's the neuron itself that produces serotonin that makes change in your neuro excitability. So these are the serotonin agent. Okay, serotonin agent, tryptophan and metabolites. Okay, tryptophan, your body can produce it, and you can consume it from outside source, okay, or from your food. But the one that affect most is from the production of tryptophan within your neural system itself. So I'm going to explain to you the serotonin spillover theory. Okay, serotonin that is synthesized within dendrites within the central nervous system. Okay, it's secreted from the neurons and attached to its excitability receptor will not induce exhaustion, but generate motor neurons activity. So when low level of serotonin being produced or synthesized within your central nervous system, it's actually will act as the neurotransmitter that will increase the excitability of your neuromuscular system, of your neural system, central nervous system drive. Okay, central drive. It will enhance the central drive. However, when it's spilled, when too much serotonin being produced by your neurons, okay, it will attach to the inhibitory receptor that locates in the axon, and reduce the force production, neuromuscular force production. Okay, so this is the picture. Okay, the black dot here represent serotonin or 5-HT, okay, i.e. serotonin itself. Okay, when Okay, sorry. Okay, the yellow one is the excitability receptor of your neuron, or of your neurons, central neurons. Okay, central nervous system neurons. Its excitability will increase the neuromuscular drive, okay, central drive, okay, the synapse, okay, between dendrites and axon, okay, from the previous neurons. Okay, it will increase the drive. But however, when too much serotonin spill over, if you see here, there is an inhibitory receptor that locates within the axon, okay, within axon and the neuron's body. Okay, it will receive, when it receives serotonin or H5T, it will inhibit the force production. Okay, it will inhibit. Okay, it's kind of a defensive mechanism of your neuromuscular system, not to overexcite. So when it spill over, it will inhibit the excitability of the neuromuscular activity. Okay, so axial potential, if you see here, axial potential will inhibit it. So less production. If you see here, less production can be generated, whilst low level of serotonin, okay, occur within the synapse of your neuromuscular junction of your central nervous system. It will increase force generation. Okay, so that's a theory that I plan to explain to you now for today, for this lecture. Thank you.